Fear the Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 4, Blood in the Streets. I really love this episode. I mean, we finally got to see Strand's backstory and what's going on with him. And at the same time, in the present, we actually got to see the people that, or at least the guy and his people that Alicia was talking to a couple episodes back. And we find out really just how bad they truly are. So I think both sides of this episode are actually pretty entertaining. We got to see Strand in the past. We find out exactly what he was doing. We find out that he's actually not going towards a woman, but he's actually going towards a man because he's actually gay, which was very surprising because I'm not super rich, so I never would have even considered that Abigail was a family last name. I never even would have considered that. I just assumed it was a woman, and I thought either it's a woman that he used to know or it does know. Like, I think a lot of people thought that he was going towards a woman because of the name of the boat, and I guess that was the point of it. But I thought that was a cool little twist. I was like, huh, I never would have thought maybe it's a family name. And I guess technically that was his house, but maybe it wasn't, and he just had a key and stuff to it. But I thought that was really cool. Like, we get his backstory and how he's always been this sort of criminal character, and he takes this guy's credit cards and stuff, and he spends all this money, and he's like, I always plan to pay you back. And ultimately, he's like a smart, sleazy type of guy that, the dudes basically just hires him and they fall for each other. It's like, that was a crazy way for that to work. And, one of the craziest things actually was the final flashback where we find out that he actually left during the outbreak. I always assumed that, like everyone, he was already there, but he'd already heard the news, like, like the guy was telling him, like, you shouldn't go back, like, don't go back because it's an outbreak, like, things are crazy. And he's like, 2 days max, and I'll be back. And I was like, that's very surprising, because, like everyone, I just assumed he was already there. And then he goes back, like, oh, it's not going to be that big of an issue. And he gets caught up in the military thing and makes, naked everybody else. And now they're slowly sailing, towards Mexico. And we actually have Nick in this episode who initially I was like, what is he doing? He's going on like some crazy little adventure mode and he's just traveling by himself. They had a cool opening, like he realized from the last episode he can put the blood on himself. So I was like, alright, that's cool that he's utilizing that trick, so I thought that was pretty sweet. But I'm like, he just left the boat. I'm like, what if they took off without him? Like, I knew, like, it was obvious that they were docked for a reason, but I just couldn't think. I'm like, they're docked for something. Like, maybe, they're going out for supplies at one point or something like that. Like, that was the plan. I don't know, but I was like, why wouldn't they just take off without him? It was really weird, and I was like, oh, okay. He finally gets to the house, and the guy points the gun at him, and it's the dude from the flashback. And it's like, oh, okay. So he sent them to actually get the guy, and then they would get to Mexico. And for whatever reason, there's still this whole big issue about safe passage and stuff like that, which, in all honesty, I would think would kind of break down at this point. It's still very early on, so I'm sure stuff like that probably is still in order because, at this point in the normal Walking Dead, they could probably just walk straight down to Mexico or, get to Canada. It would be like no big deal. It would be easier for them because they're in Atlanta to go to Mexico. But it was like, alright, maybe, I guess that makes sense because it's still, so early. It's only been like a week or so. So they might still have a lot of people, specifically at the border. And they can try to get to this house, which we see is kind of in the middle of nowhere. Like, if they're able to really get past the border and get to, like, this really nice looking cottage with a swimming pool and stuff, it was just, like, mountains and open fields and stuff. And it's like, there's no one around them to attack. Like, they'd see zombies from, like, a million miles away because there's so much open space. And they're kind of, like, at the top of a hill. And everything else is, like, just surrounding them below. So if they do end up getting to that point, which I'm assuming they won't, at least not by the end of the season, I don't think they'll actually get there. But if they get there, at all, then they probably would be protected, at least for a little bit. Like, even if they do, we know that that's not going to be the end of the series, and it'll be like, oh, we'll survive, for forever. That's not going to happen. But it was pretty cool. It's like, it makes sense why he's putting, everything he has into it. Plus, the guy that he was with, I don't know if I'd say love because it's Strand, but the guy he's with is also at the house as well. So it's like, alright, it makes perfect sense why he's putting so much into them getting down to Mexico and stuff like that. Of course, he almost dies in this episode when the people get on the boat. He looks over. He was like super pissed and is like, "Who the f are these people?" And she just took off. He was like, "Well, I am out of here." So he's gone. The little raft gets shot, and he's kind of just in the water, like nearly dying by the end of it. He's struggling to hold on to the walkie-talkie, which I could not believe wasn't waterproof when he was like blowing on the battery and stuff. I was like, how is that not a waterproof walkie-talkie? Like, I know if you're on a boat, you wouldn't assume that you even remotely need one, but it just seemed like it made such little sense. Like, you're on a boat, like that should be a waterproof walkie-talkie. It just made me mad seeing that. I'm like, that's just not planning. That's not smart planning. Like, even in the normal world, if you're gonna have a walkie-talkie, it should probably be a waterproof walkie-talkie. But I was just really surprised. It was like a random thing. And so, he loses the walkie-talkie. I don't know why he didn't just go under the water to get it. Like, he was holding on to the thing. I'm like, that's gonna float. It like it was a foot away. You could have swam down a quick second and popped right back up. But he was struggling to hold on and stuff. And I mean, I guess because it was already so cold in the water, that's why he didn't want to let go, because he already thought he might, just basically die underneath the water. But he's just stuck out there, and so most of Strand is through flashbacks in this episode. And then we have everybody else trapped on the boat with all these crazy people, and we have this guy Connor who comes in, and he's like the leader of this little gang of people and stuff. And we have the sort of main antagonist of this episode, I would say, the guy who really comes in, and they bring up a really crazy little mystery early on in the episode. It's like, oh, Alicia, get Nick and Travis and all this stuff, and it's like, Salazar's like, how does he know our names? And she's like, I have no idea, because I never told them any of our names. That was really crazy. I'm like, that is a very serious question to ask, because that guy knew everybody's names, and it was really weird. And I was like, I don't understand how they know who all these people are. But it was interesting the way they played that out, and ultimately how everything happened with Connor and him actually taking Alicia and Travis. I thought was interesting as well. So they take off, and then that allows for Nick to come in and kind of save the day a little bit. And they blew those people away. I didn't think it would play out like that, where it's like, oh, there are people coming. That guy was just like, all right, boom, boom, and kill both of them. And then Travis had already left the weapons for everybody for when they escaped. And they just ran that guy through with, it was like he got staked like a vampire from the back, almost. Like that thing was just sticking out of him, and he was done. So we now have two characters who are still kind of gone in the wind. We lost Alicia and Travis, so I'm really excited to get to the next episode for that one. And I don't know if Strand is going to be even angrier, which I think he would be, because he was kind of right about the stuff with Alicia, and just the way everything played out. I think he'll be really, really mad, even though Madison ended up saving him at the end of the episode. I think he'll be very, very pissed that it happened to begin with. It's like, I'm trying to get to the man I care about and really get to safety. I need to get the heck out of here. And it kind of just doesn't work. But I'm excited to see where they go with the next episode. And we have two people kind of taking on this other boat. We don't really know how many more people they might have, because I'm sure it wasn't just the 4 people that showed up on the boat, plus I think it was three initially. Then Connor showed up with 2 other people, so I doubt it's just 6 people total. I'm sure they have way more people. So I'm excited to see exactly how big his group is and exactly what they plan on doing, because there was a lot of talk about how they would kind of take over other ships and how they've killed other people and stuff like that in order to kind of get what they needed and survive, really. So I'm looking forward to seeing how all this stuff plays out, and we're going to have our Abigail group kind of heading towards our 2 missing characters, and that could be really dangerous for a lot of people. There might be a lot of death in the next couple episodes, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. But of course, I definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And we got to know a lot about Strand in this episode. We got to learn a lot of interesting history about his character and why he has such a devastating motivation to get to where he wants to go. And I definitely want to know what you guys thought about his backstory and how his kind of drive to survive isn't simply survival. It's like, I want to get back to the guy that I care about. I also do want to get to safety. They had the whole thing where the person he was actually talking to on the radio wasn't even the guy in the flashback. It was like the assistant dude, who was kind of like the bodyguard. So he was the guy he was initially talking to, where it's like, Nick, I need you to go out and save him. That's who he was talking to initially to try to kind of stay in the little town area by himself. So I thought that was cool. I was like, all right, I like the way that played out. And now we're heading off to Mexico. We might actually, well, they lost the walkie-talkie, so we probably won't get any contact with the actual. I want to say the guy's name was Thomas, if I remember right. So we might not really hear anything from him since they lost the walkie-talkie, but they do still have like the radio on board, so they could probably easily do that as well if they wanted to. But definitely want to know what you guys thought about Strand's backstory, and also how you guys think he's going to be acting in the next episode based on all the chaos that happened in this one. Because, like I said, I think he's going to be insanely mad. I think it'll be worse than he's ever been. So I definitely want to know what you guys think about that. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.